Hi everyone, I'm Laura and this is Lay Low Yoga and Wellness. Today's practice is really going to be focusing on self-compassion. So you're going to be seeing a lot of sort of forward folds or folding movements. They're all designed to help you feel a little bit protective over your heart space and just give yourself a little bit of grace today. Let's get started. Find any seated position that you feel comfortable with. And maybe consider bringing one or both of your hands to your heart and just feeling that soft beat of the heart and give yourself a little bit of warmth there. If it feels comfortable, maybe close your eyes. If not, see if you can just take a soft gaze at one point on the floor. Maybe allow your chin to drop just a little bit. And really just take a moment to feel yourself being supported by the floor. It's there, it's not going anywhere, and it's going to help keep you uplifted throughout your practice today. Tune into every little detail. Maybe your floor feels cold, maybe it's warm, maybe it's soft, maybe you're sitting on a block or a bolster. Just pay attention to that contact and how it feels. Let yourself land in this moment. And we start to tune into our thoughts, noticing if they're racing around. Maybe you have some negative thoughts that keep popping up. Can we just let them drift by? As you soften into this seated position, start to notice your breath and let it slow down. Every time you breathe in, you're going to attach any stress or anxiety or tension that you feel in your body to that breath. And then as you exhale, you can just let that tension and anxiety go. Continue to deepen your breath. And on your next exhale, just let yourself sigh that breath away. Letting go of any of those lingering thoughts. And maybe we start to just blink our eyes open. And whatever seated position you've chosen, just bring your feet flat on the floor, maybe a little bit of space between the feet. I'm going to put the hands either on the front of the shins or maybe on the back of the legs, whichever feels more comfortable to you. And as you inhale, start to draw your body a little bit closer to your thighs, maybe lifting the gaze if that feels okay. And then exhale, rounding through the spine, letting your chin drop. Inhaling, drawing a bit closer, lifting that gaze. Exhale, rounding the spine. One more time, let's take an inhale. This time on the exhale, let your forehead just drop to your knees and wrap the arms around your knees for siesta. Taking one full breath here. And we start to roll up through the spine on that next breath. Take the arms out to the side. Exhale, wrapping your left arm on top of the right. Just give yourself a little hug here. We're pulling the shoulders in. Lift the elbows a bit higher. Exhale and release. Inhale, opening wide. Notice you're giving your heart a little bit of exposure. Exhale, other arm comes on top, and we give it a little bit more protection once again. Gently pulling the shoulders in, give them a good stretch. Take that deep breath, open up for a moment. Exhale. Let's take both hands down to the floor now, moving into a tabletop position. Fingers spread nice and wide. with your wrists directly under your shoulders. You can always be on your knuckles to give yourself a little bit more wrist support. We draw the belly up just a bit, lengthen out through the spine, knees directly under your hips for tabletop. Inhale, let's lift the gaze again. Let the belly drop, hips raising toward the ceiling. Exhale, scoop the hips under, round the spine. Tuck the chin and take your gaze toward your belly. Again, inhale and lift. Exhale, rounding the spine. And taking a couple more cow and cat, go at your own pace. And then we all return to tabletop together. Bringing your big toes together, take your knees a bit wider and let your hips come all the way back toward your heels. Reaching your hands forward, come into a wide child's pose. Again, you can always use a block right here to rest your forehead on, or bring your forehead all the way to the floor. If you feel like you want a little more enclosure here, you can stack your fists and rest your forehead there. Or even bring the forehead all the way to the mat or to a block and drape the arms alongside the body. One more gentle breath here. And bring the hands right back underneath the shoulders. Start to press the floor away from you and line the knees right back up. We're going to walk the hands out toward the top of our mat, landing the elbows directly underneath the shoulders. Take the feet a little bit wider, maybe to the edges of your mat, and lift your gaze. We're giving our heart a little bit of exposure here, but notice again, we're still in a somewhat protective pose. This is about slowly giving yourself that nurturing and then giving yourself that openness. Let's take one more breath here. And then we bring the hands underneath the shoulders, press up, coming into your table position. Inhale, sweep your left hand up high. Open that chest for a moment. Exhale, thread the needle, bringing your left hand behind the right. Shoulder comes all the way to the mat, ear to the mat, hips are high, and we reach the right hand toward the top of the mat if that feels good. One breath in and out. Slide the right hand back under your shoulder, press the floor away. Inhale, sweep that left hand high. Exhale, return to table. Let's take that on the other side. Right hand sweeping high. Open up that heart for a moment. Sweep the hand behind the left, ear to the floor, and reach the left hand high if that feels okay. Feeling that support from the floor. And take one more breath. And slide the left hand under the shoulder. Press the floor away, sweep up through the right hand, and come back to table. Let's take our feet out now one at a time. Step to the left hand, push off with your right toes, and step forward to start coming into Malasana. So maybe you stay here with the hips elevated. Maybe you bring a block underneath your backside to give you some additional support. That's up to you. Or maybe you're sinking all the way down into that squat, lifting the chest slightly. Maybe the hands are in front to give you some balance support. Maybe the hands are at the opposite elbows to challenge that balance a bit. Or maybe even bringing the hands to heart center. Notice you're opening the hips a little bit wider, but still giving yourself that heart protection. Let's take one more breath right here. And start to lean into your fingertips. Lift the hips high. We're going to Face all 10 toes toward the top of the mat, but keep the feet wide and find a generous bend here in your knees for wide ragdoll. We're going to pick up our opposite elbows and let the head hang, maybe looking through to the back of the mat. Let your legs support you. You can move this around a little bit if that's feeling good today. And then we just allow those hands to fall to the floor. Heel toe your feet a little bit closer together. And we begin to find some length here in the legs. Draw your chest a little bit closer to your legs right now, maybe bringing the hands behind the legs. Maybe your knees are straight, maybe you've got some bend still there, that's fine, wherever you need to go with it. Let's take one more inhale, and as we exhale, start to roll up. One vertebra at a time, a little bit of a squeeze right here through the glutes, push the hips forward. Let's bring those hands right back up to heart center and take a breath. Still have a little bit of space here between our feet as we start to sit back into chair pose. You can reach those hands high, or you can keep the hands here at heart center, that little bit of protection. Chair pose is about finding your defiant spirit. Gravity's trying to push you down and you're saying, nope, I'm gonna rise up still. So you stay here, maybe with that heart protection, but that defiant spirit. Pick up your left foot, take about 2/3 of a step back, pivot your foot to a 45-degree angle, scoop your hip forward. You can keep the hands here at heart center or find an arrow mudra and lift the hands high for warrior one. Sink a little bit into it, maybe you need to adjust the feet slightly. Giving ourselves that big heart opener, knowing we can do this. One more breath. Exhale, release the hands. Straighten out that front leg and bring your forehead toward the knee to come into a pyramid pose. Maybe the hands are reaching down to the floor. Maybe they're resting on some blocks. Maybe they're here at your shin. Now bend through your right leg. Bring your hands behind you, lacing the fingers at the base of your spine. We're going to either rest on our right thigh or maybe bring that knee in to the inside of the knee, the shoulder rather, and begin to lift the hands high. Take your gaze all the way to the back of the mat to come into humble warrior. And we bring the hands back down to the base of the spine. Release the fingers and bring them to the inside of your right foot. Turn your right toes out and take a bigger step back on the left leg to come into lizard pose. Maybe you stay here. Maybe you drop the back knee down. Maybe you walk the left hand a little bit closer, turn towards the right thigh and press into it. Or even reach the right hand high. Lots of options on lizard pose. We're getting those hips a little more open. Hips, the emotional junk drawer. We store a lot of emotions there, so we're letting go of some of those emotions while we continue to keep that heart space protected. Let's bring both hands to the floor if you had it lifted. Tuck your left toes under, step forward, and bring yourself back into Malasana. Whatever version you feel comfortable with today. Let yourself breathe for just a moment. And then we drop those fingertips down to the floor. Lean into your fingertips, start to lift the hips high. All 10 toes face the top of the mat. Generous bend at the knees, wide ragdoll. Rock it if that feels good. And then find some stillness. Let the hands release to the floor. Bring the feet just a little bit closer. Start to lengthen out the legs. We still have some space between the feet here. Gaze is toward your knees. Forward fold. Draw the chest a little closer. Inhale, rolling up one vertebra at a time. A little squeeze in those glutes. Push it forward. Hands come to heart center. Take a breath. One more deep inhale, and on your exhale, bend at the knees, sitting back into chair pose. Maybe you're keeping the hands at heart center. Maybe you're feeling ready to raise them up. Check in with yourself and see how you're feeling about it right now. One more breath. We pick up the right foot, take about 2/3 of a step back, 45-degree angle at the toes, scoop the hips forward, and come into that warrior one. See if you're feeling ready for a little more heart opening. If you're not, that's okay, you're right here, giving yourself that little bit of protection. Opening the hips, protecting the heart. One more breath. We start to release the arms, lengthen out the front leg, come into that standing pyramid. Forehead as close to the knee as you can. We reach the hands behind the body, lace the fingers, bend the front knee, coming into your humble warrior. Maybe we're moving the left shoulder more to the inside of the left knee. And we start to reach those hands high. Nice chest opener while protecting the heart. It's all about giving yourself compassion, space. And then we bring the hands down to the lower back, release the fingers, bring them to the inside of your left foot. Just turn the toes out. Step back on that right leg, coming into your lizard pose. Again, lots of options, knee up or down. Maybe you're on your forearms. Maybe you're turning toward that thigh, giving it that little extra push, even reaching the hand high. One more breath here. And then wherever you are, both hands come to the inside of the left foot, tuck the right toes under, push off from the back. Find your Malasana once again, toes are out. Maybe the hips stay high. Maybe you're sitting on a block. And we release the hands to the floor. Lean into your toes, or your fingers rather. Let's bring the feet closer together. Come up on your toes and then sit down onto your heels. So we have some lift off from the heels here, and we're just going to hug the knees for ball of yarn. One more breath. Let's place the hands on the floor. Left knee under the left hip, right knee under the right hip, hands under the shoulders, and we're back in table for one breath. Lengthen out through the spine. And we slowly sit back into child's pose. Maybe wide child's pose once again. Toes together, knees are wider. Any version you feel comfortable with. One more breath here. Lift up slightly from the floor. Rock your legs back, lower down, and just come into a prone position. Stack your hands, forehead to the top of the hands. Check into your shoulders, let them release. And now we just roll over, coming onto your back. Feet come to the edges of the mat. Let your knees drop together, restorative pose. We're going to take our arms alongside the body, if that feels comfortable, or maybe we're bringing one hand or both hands to the heart. You might want to stay here in restorative pose, or you can begin to reach the legs out to come into corpse again. Hands maybe at the heart. Maybe if you're feeling a little bit stronger and like you're ready for it, you can certainly come into full corpse pose. You decide where you want to be. And we start to check back in with the body. Starting at the crown of the head, let it start to soften all the way through the forehead. Maybe noticing if your thoughts have calmed down, quieted down just a little bit. We begin to smooth out the face, releasing all those little crinkles around the eyes, any tension in the jaw, any tightness in your throat, and releasing the muscles through your neck, down into your shoulders, through to your elbows, wrists, and fingers. You feel your heart resting in your chest. Maybe you can feel each beat. The belly rise and fall. And then the hips begin to soften. Right down through the legs, the knees, the ankles, right into your toes. And you start to feel a nice warm light encompassing your heart. Every breath helps push that warm light a little further into your body. And soon your whole body is encompassed by that warm, nourishing glow. Let yourself just drift through that light. I encourage you, if you have the time today, to stay in your Shavasana for as long as you can. And then whenever you're ready, make your way to a seated position. Any comfortable seated position. Let your chin drop to your chest, your shoulders drop away from your ears. Let your left ear drift over toward that left shoulder. Slide your chin back to the chest, taking the right ear to the right shoulder. And we bring the chin back to the chest. The eyes are closed. Slowly start to blink them open. And if it feels good, take that big deep breath up and out. Return the hands to heart center. May you have peace in your thoughts, kindness in your words, and hope in your hearts. From my heart to yours, namaste. I hope that brought you a little bit of peace today. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for this and more videos to help support you with your mental well-being.